About 2 years ago, I made a video on some kid from Team Spirit Academy because he shared the same nickname as my dog. The video did relatively well, but most people in the comments had the same complaint. One viewer even sent me an email to ask the question, who the hell is Donk?
Safe to say I'm the biggest, the largest. Been stepping up since my mama stayed in them apartments. Regardless, my daddy told me keep the heat even when I'm in Florence. I'm heartless, cause these niggas is hating on me just because I'm the biggest, the largest, the biggest, the largest.
Psst, hey kid. This video is sponsored by SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a 24/7 online trading service for CS2 that is extremely easy to use. You just select your skins that you want to trade, the skins that you want to trade for, and they'll send you the offer. Right now, they're offering up to a 30% bonus on your first deposit, and up to 35% if you use my code WAZU at the top, along with an additional free $5 if you make a trade worth $100. That's a lot of free money. Check out SkinsMonkey today and use my code WAZU. Thank you, SkinsMonkey. When you ask people what makes Donk so good, you'll usually hear something about his aim, his movement, his overall mechanics, and they wouldn't be wrong. There are plenty of great videos going over how Donk uses crouching and movement tech to completely mess with his opponent's aim. So I won't show you that in this video, but what I would argue is that you should start the clip earlier, because many of his opponents would normally hit a shot like this, or a spray like this, but whenever they're against Donk, he makes them look silly. So why can't they hit Donk? A big reason is how he manipulates expectations by changing the tempo of his engagements, not just between rounds, but even between peaks. In the simplest form, this looks like slowing down a re-engagement to create doubt when you're going to peak. For example, in this Face It game, Donk's teammate gets killed by a T with an auto sniper on cap, and while Donk misses the first shot, he swings towards the left and then pauses, forcing the T to gamble between holding the left and right swing of the pillar. The T holds right, Donk swings left, and Donk hits a nice shot to secure the kill against a more equipped T. But tempo changes can be as complicated as Donk getting a fast run boost to get an early pick onto A site, and after beating the molly, he has two choices. He can either play towards the bottom of Tetris and wait for the molly to fade to allow his teammates to push up, which is probably the more common choice in this situation. Or you can do what Donk does and jump to the top of Tetris and post up for any aggressive CTs. This may look strange as he is fully exposed from top balcony, jungle, the entirety of site, but it works out as the CT stairs expected Donk to be sitting at the bottom of Tetris, so he swings out ready to fight the rest of A main, only for Donk to take off his head. You could argue that this isn't really a tempo change, as it's going from very aggressive to an aggressive defensive option, but in either way, by actively leveraging his opponent's expectations, Donk can get easy openings where his opponent's crosshairs are inherently disconnected from his positioning. In a way, Donk doesn't need to dodge his opponents because they're already missing. That's obviously not to discount Donk's individual moving mechanics aiding in a lot of his fights, especially when he's cornered. But in the neutral game, it's certainly a lot easier to just have the opponents not aim at you whenever you shoot them. And you can replicate this by either 1. Having incredibly sharp game sense, because let's be honest, nobody is thinking about all of these factors in the heat of a gunfight, but by recognizing certain tactics and player patterns, Donk can maximize his ability to take high risk, high reward plays rather than always choosing the safe option. For example, in this round, the T's managed to take B site on a force buy, and here there are two common responses from the T's. The first is to try to take advantage of their pistol's superior movement accuracy to aggressively take more site control, such as going into market. The other is for the T's to play a little bit more defensively so that they can play in much closer angles where the advantage of the CT's rifles are a lot less. The T's in this round choose the latter option, but this backfires as Donk is on the fast rotate through market, and once he hears that the T's are not taking the aggressive option, he knows that he can barge onto site and stop the plant, completely catching the T's off guard and securing the round without the T's getting the extra money from bomb plant. Game sense is admittedly hard to teach from an outside perspective, which is why you should join GOSU Academy for free for a month. And this is all well and good, however, most of us haven't played Counter-Strike for more than half our life, so what can we do to tap into this principle? The best way to do so is to condition your opponent, where you give your opponents a certain action repeatedly so that your opponents are going to respond in a certain way. And by understanding how that opponent is going to respond, you can take actions to mitigate that counter before it shuts you down. It's obviously not as good as just having game sense, since it takes a few rounds to establish a pattern of play that your opponents can grasp onto. Or does it? Here in the pistol round, Donk gets 2 picks onto Cat, then runs around on stairs looking for the last CT. Then he runs around to retrieve bomb, then he runs around to shoot. You get the point. Donk has no regards for how much noise he makes, and this causes the CT near ticket to not peak. After all, why challenge the best player in the world in a straight gunfight when you can instead get an easy kill when Donk starts planting? Donk has a pretty good idea where this last CT is, since they killed his last teammate. So once he retrieves bomb, he fakes the plant in the one place where the CT cannot immediately contest him, before hopping off and cutting all noise. The CT hears that the plant is towards the left, so he knows he has to peek around triple to get the kill, but he doesn't expect Donk to have faked the bomb. After all, Donk was so confident making all that noise while retrieving bomb, surely he must be as confident in sticking the plant, especially in an advantageous position. Again, is Donk thinking about all of these factors out in either situation? Obviously not. It's mostly intuition for him, but we can take the underlying concept of how these kills are generated and start applying these principles to our own games. But how does this work out in a more coordinated setting, where everyone has undoubtedly watched hundreds of hours of Team Spirit's games and knows how Donk plays? The answer is pretty well, considering Donk is still dominating. Let's analyze how each of his opponents responds and gets outplayed in one of Donk's most famous highlights, his 1v5 against Heroic. The clip starts with Shush getting traded out in A main, and Donk quickly swings out to try to get another frag onto Nerds on top of stairs, but Nerds is smart and ducks down, and after Donk holds for a second, Donk understands that if he continues to watch for this top stairs push, Nerds is not going to peek, and Heroic is just going to group up and double swing him. So Donk takes the best option given the situation, and quickly swings the site for information, catching Dexter off guard, but both players miss their shots. Now armed with this information, Donk moves back to isolate the fight with Nerds before Heroic catch him in the open on the double swing, and Tessis, being the disciplined player that he is, backs up to establish another double swing with Kixen. But that plays into Donk as he recognizes that he can now use this time to isolate the fight with Dexter back on site, where he gets a clean shot through. So that's 3 Heroic members dead in less than 10 seconds. The remaining players are absolutely stunned and try to play defensively, but Donk plays his final card. He has bomb. Now normally, Kixen and Tessis shouldn't be too worried about this fact. After all, with 23 seconds left on the clock, Donk isn't able to rotate towards B, and the time is against him. But there is some pretty good cover on site that Donk can not only use to plant the bomb, but to further isolate these fights, and that's what Donk threatens. He immediately heads towards site, where he can use the default box to split Kixen on stairs and Tessis on top connector. The Heroic players realize this and go for a double swing before this can happen, but Donk being Donk, hits the spray transfer and closes out the clutch. Heroic played perfect fundamental CS. They played for double swings, they had the AWPer posted up in a defensive angle, and yet Donk was able to break these structures by predicting Heroic's response every step of the way, and moving in accordance to isolate the fights. And that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know if I missed anything in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. Other than that, I'll see you guys very soon.